Hi guys, number one Marmaduke fan here. Time for another double manga death battle. Case closed. Every volume of Case Closed is the same. If you like a book that is, hey kids, mysteries, can you solve the mystery? Funny cartoon characters. Why haven't you already read Case Closed 20 times? Because that's exactly what it is. Will it ever, will the long ongoing plots ever find resolution? I don't know. I don't care. It knows exactly what it wants to be, and it's fun. I did want to call attention to maybe a couple things I noticed in Volume 4 that I think are worth mentioning. So the thing number one is that because Gosho Aoyama has this really strong sense of there's the continuity is this could go on forever. It's like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck or Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. You know, you don't care too much about what the ongoing plot is. The adventure of solving the murder mysteries is all the fun. So to keep it fresh, what Gosho Aoyama does is he has a few different types of setups for Case Closed stories, and he gives you little nuggets of promises that maybe he's going somewhere with this eventually. So kind of thing number one is Conan follows Rachel and her dad to a murder mystery, and he helps solve the murder mystery, even though no one will listen to him. The second type of story is he sees the mysterious men in black who turned him into a little kid, and maybe he'll get a little nugget of truth about them to eventually get back to his normal self. Now, I marked this page because something that Gosho does is because he's kind of a funny cartoonist, he's a guy who likes drawing funny pictures. He has some stock face types and visual, tricks to kind of communicate things to you. So I've seen like this guy with a big mustache and a beard 3 times. Anytime there's an old guy, he'll give him like a big thick mustache and a long pointed kind of Fu Manchu type of beard, because that's his way of saying old man, and then pretty girl, and then nerdy guy. And he'll change it up a few times every time. So he'll make the old man fat this time, or he'll give the nerdy guy a widow's peak this time, or he'll give the pretty girl like a really angular haircut. He has like a couple stock, pretty handsome boy and handsome beautiful girl faces, but then he does some variation to change it up from book to book. I just thought that was interesting that he's using really simple cartoon language just to kind of mentally help you separate this suspect, this suspect, this suspect. And like the big old Yakuza guy is an example of where he's just completely departing from like the standard beautiful, pretty girl, handsome boy cartoon face and just making a really memorable, distinct face. I thought that was interesting. And then a little later on, so the third type of story he does is Conan and the first grade kids go on a little kiddie adventure, and then they encounter real danger on the little kiddie adventure. So what helps is not every story is Conan goes to solve a mystery, Conan goes to solve a mystery, Conan goes to solve a mystery. By using these kind of 3 broad categories, he can change it up every time. Sometimes it's a mystery, sometimes it's a defuse the bomb story, sometimes it's a, hey kids, let's solve the code at Carnival Land, but then there are gangsters there. That he knows exactly what kids like, and even the fact that Jimmy Kudo is a high school detective, and then he gets transformed into a little kid, that's like another thing to help like the little kid enter into the world and identify with Conan, while giving an explanation for how a little first grader is able to solve all these mysteries. It's just great. I love how they roast Gosho at the end of the chapter. His assistants, if you didn't know this, assistants are a big deal in the manga industry. So each of them will make fun of, what a lazy nerd he is, and they'll all draw in a little, in their own unique cartoon style. I love this. I wish it became more standard for the assistants to kind of have their day. And he also does like these cool little, hey kids, go read these detective books things at the end of the time. So I haven't read The Gentleman Thief, Lupin. I just know it's like a cultural phenomenon in Japan. Tuxedo Mask in Sailor Moon, Lupin the Third, of course Detective Conan. I think he even got to do a crossover with The Gentleman Thief, Lupin. But for some reason, this character has really spoken to Japan, and he shows up over and over and over again in a lot of manga. So that was interesting. Bokurano Rs, this is a very sad series, very dark subject matter. It's one of the best series I've read this year, and people have been telling me that Mohiro Kito likes really dark, mature subject matter in his other manga. And there was some debate about that. Is it too dark? Is it too depressing? Is he just doing sort of evil and darkness for the sake of having evil and darkness? And I haven't read his other stuff, but I feel like for Bokurano Rs, there is a moral thread that's connecting all of it, and it's established early with Daiichi Yamura's character, who's a very honorable young man, and then each other character after that kind of becomes a variation, a theme where you start to see, oh, so not everybody faces death as nobly as Daiichi Yamura. What I really love about this series from a writing perspective is how successfully it's keeping me guessing, and I really never know what's coming next, even though based on the setup, you would think that maybe in the hands of a less capable writer, you know exactly where this would go. So the way I was expecting this to go is a kid's going to pilot the robot, she's going to become a hero, she's going to die. A boy's going to pilot the robot, he's going to become a hero, he's going to die. A girl's going to pilot the robot, she's going to become a hero, she's going to die. And Mohiro changes up every chapter a little bit, so you're never comfortable or quite sure what's happening. So for Chizuru's story, like the last setup was she's piloting a giant robot and she wants revenge on the men who raped her. And what could possibly go wrong when a girl who wants revenge has a giant robot that's 400 feet tall and giant laser cannons? So she's killing innocent people to get at her rapists, and then she's forced by her sister to kind of like make a choice. You know, kill. If you want to kill this guy, you're going to have to kill me too, because I don't want you to be a murderer, and I'm willing to die before I stand aside and let you kill even a bad man like him. And this speaks to her, and in the end, she focuses on defeating the evil robot and saves the day. That's kind of one of the interesting things about this is the robot fights are actually really good and really fun, just on a action adventure level. Really great, variety of designs for the robot. They're all kind of primally terrifying. There's always a cool twisteroo to beat them. But then sort of the human themes of like dealing with tragedy, dealing with evil in the world, get built up. That's actually kind of like the crux of the story. So what he did different is after Chizuru dies, after piloting the robot, then he goes back and he kind of lets you know what kind of a person Chizuru was, where she was a little bit more caustic, a little bit more of a go-getter than any of her family, who were all a bit more laid back. And I think the point about this is like, don't judge people until you have like the full picture. So they meet a little old man. They think he steals their car. Chizuru keeps wanting to call the police, and they find out at the end that the little old man did steal their car, but he was doing it so he could try to go and get their tickets and bring it back to them that they forgot. So he stole their car because he wanted to do something nice for them. And Chizuru kind of learns. I'm not sure. She learns that her family being laid back and kind of being forgiving of people isn't necessarily a bad thing. She's forced to kind of think through her own perspective. Now, one of the things I love is how well Mohiro establishes characters early on, because it's a pretty big cast. Usually they only get like a line or two. Like, I know she has a little brother, and she doesn't like seeing people bully other people, right? So what Mohiro does is he'll give them a line or two, and then later he'll call back to that line, and you'll see that line actually meant something, or it told you something about them. They're foreshadowing that Yosuke Kiri here is very nervous and shy, but he's also perceptive. So when he talks to his friend Isao, he says, "You're pretty good at running away," as sort of a double meaning. He's complimenting him, but he's also telling him, "Don't be a coward, don't run away from this fight." And then tragically, Isao is murdered before he has a chance to, we don't know. That's the point. We don't know if Isao was going to rise to the challenge or whether he was going to be a coward or not, because he's murdered before he has a chance to make that decision. But we're getting the idea that Kiri maybe, even though he's shy and introverted, he really understands people, and now he's like mysteriously not there. Now, Kunihiko, he's another character who his personality's been established very subtly in earlier chapters, and now he's going to step forward and be the main character and we'll take on his focus. So the thing we've learned about Moji, he's very quiet, he's very calm, he's very perceptive, and the kids have noticed he's one of the only kids who doesn't cry when one of their friends dies. And what we learn about him is he's very logical, but what's kind of beautiful about his story is logical people can give in to illogical emotions based on things like selfishness. So he has two best friends, a girl and a boy. He likes the girl, he realizes that his friend who's a boy, if his guy friend ends up with his girlfriend, then he'll never have a girlfriend. He's kind of resentful about that. So he's always had kind of like this sort of petty belief that, well, since I have a good heart and my friend has a heart condition, he'll die and I'll get the girl. So I was born blessed. Fate has decreed that I will get the girl. But then he finds out that that's not how things work, and the girl he likes ends up liking his his best friend. So for a while he thinks about killing his friend, actually, because he has this illogical idea. His illogical idea is, if my friend dies of being murdered and doesn't die of a heart condition, then the girl will be with me, right? So he's a logical, smart young man who has a very illogical idea, which is born of resentment. Now, we never like seriously see him like planning, I will kill my friend. He just has a really dark thought, almost, that if I could kill my friend, everything would work out. And then, when the giant robot stuff happens, he realizes he's doomed. He's going to die, and that changes his entire perspective. Now that he realizes he's going to die, rather than thinking resentfully about killing his friend, he's now thinking about how he can die and give his heart to his friend so that his friend can go on and live, and that the girl he likes will be happy. This is a really great scene because it just underscores like economy of language. So the kids have this whole conversation about the way the kids have been reacting and talking to each other. And so this kind of calls attention to the fact that some of them are like not that perceptive. They just think, oh, that's so mean. And other kids are perceptive. They're realizing, hey, he said that because he was trying to get our friend to fight the robot. You can't just look at a mean comment as a mean comment. So you're learning about all these characters while Mohiro is kind of establishing the important points. Oh, and there's like there's a lot of like really, he talks about dark themes in a way that makes sense. So like there's this boy who bullies his little sister, and he accuses one of the other boys of having an Oedipus complex. And he says, well, what's wrong with loving my mom? And he says, you love your mom, and that's why you bully your little sister. Your little sister died when your mom was born, and you resent your little sister for that, and that's why you pick on her, and kind of gets under his skin a little bit. Oh, okay, the other neat twisteroo, I don't want to spoil all the twisteroos, but basically he throws in a twisteroo where one of them might not die. One of them might be able to get out of the contract, but we don't know which one. And so that's adding a whole new tension. This entire time I've been thinking, oh, she's going to fight and she's going to die, she's going to fight and she's going to die, she's going to fight and she's going to die. But now, with that element of mystery added to it, now it seems like one of them might get to live. So I'm no longer sure if they're all gonna die. It's just great. Just when you think you know exactly what's gonna happen, he keeps you guessing. There's some really sweet stuff about like how the Japanese military, they have to volunteer to take the place of pilots who are not able to carry out their contract. And one of them has a family, one of them doesn't have a family, so they talk about sacrifice. It's really meaningful. So it is very dark, mature subject matter, but it's dark subject matter with a recurring thread of sacrifice, posterity, doing what's right for the sake of doing what's right, and not giving in to the dark side of your emotions. And how emotion can actually overcome a rational person, a logical person, and the fights actually fit into that. So the logical character, what's his problem? He has to fight a robot where it challenges him and it doesn't quite make sense how to approach it. So he's got to think logically how to get out of a tight situation. And Morihiro is such a nerd. He has this whole great section talking about airplanes in this era that I think he must have made up, and futuristic cars in this era that use like a transparent color changing glass, and like press helicopters and military freighters. Where they're fantasy. I think he made them up, but he talks about like all their specifics. I love his process of just having like a few general ideas for the shape of a robot, and he builds based on shape. This is a really fine series and a really fine mind, creating a really dark take on the robot fighting genre that's actually bigger than the robot fighting genre. It's about sacrifice. It's a universal theme. That's it. Two good manga. I'm happy with both of them for very different reasons. I guess there are a few like underwear jokes in Case Closed, but apart from just a few underwear jokes, like this is like the best 10-year-old detective series ever. That's it. Number one Marmaduke fan. Love you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you later.